All right, guys. Our next guest's resume speaks for itself. Tough Smashers winner, former UFC middleweight champion, and one of the top middleweights in the world. Of course, the pride of Australia, Robert Whittaker. Welcome back again to Submission Radio. How are you, man?
Good, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me again.
Rob, man, we see on Instagram you've had some great times since we last spoke. You had your cousin's wedding. There was some Easter fun shenanigans with the family. Tell us, dude, now that you've had a little bit of time away from the octagon, what are some of the highlights of just being able to chill out and being at home?
Yeah, it's exactly that. Just being able to chill out, live life, be a part of all the events that, normally have to give up. Just, fortunately, they just slid in straight after the fight, and I was able to make everything. Everything just worked out timing-wise perfectly, and had a lot of fun, enjoying those moments and creating experiences with the kids.
I know, it's funny because just before we started this, you mentioned how you got to drop the kids off. So it's 8 a.m. in the morning, you're in full dad mode. But you said in the post about your cousin's wedding that these moments recharge my willpower, give me the drive to go to go what I have to. Break that down a little bit for us, and how much is putting that time aside for the family something that's kind of become essential for you these days, in a way that people might not understand would be sort of beneficial for your MMA career?
Yeah, so doing these little things with the kids and seeing them grow up and seeing them experience memories and things like that with their cousins and with my cousins and just, living and enjoying life. That's what gives me the drive to do what I need to do, to get out there, to compete, to perform, to train, to bleed. It's one of those things that it's hard to explain until you're in that moment. But yeah, there's just a time when I'm looking around and I see everything I have, and I want more for my kids. I want more for my family, and at that point, I'm willing to do anything for it.
I just got to ask, when you go to these family weddings, how often do people just bringing up the Adesanya rematch and how you won on the scorecards and what's going on? How often does that conversation pop up anytime you do these kinds of things?
Not too much now. I've been in this game for a fair while now, so they try not to hound me with things like that at events.
It's like Rob's about to give a speech at my wedding. Rob, break down your last fight with Israel just quickly.
By the way, Robert, free tickets for the boys, yeah. I wanted to ask you this because obviously we've spoken a bunch of times about your motivation for fighting and things like that. And sometimes it's we have a chat and then afterwards I go over it and then I understand it better after the fact when you've said it. But when we were talking last time, you spoke about your difference in motivation for why you fight as opposed to before the burnout and how you do it essentially to provide for your family, but also you love it because it's a badass job and you get to go in there and smash people and earn a paycheck like that. But I'm curious, and the whole story was sort of you found your motivation for fighting, but I'm curious, what was your motivation beforehand? What were you fighting for beforehand, before the revelation?
I think more, the younger I got, I guess my biggest drive was just identity. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be, I didn't want to be that Hauser kid from Menai. I wanted to be the cage fighter. You know what I mean?
Hauser kid.
Yeah. So I think that was my biggest drive, just trying to identify as something, a little cooler.
And just to cut in there before you go, Deanna, so that I guess once you found your identity, did you feel like you didn't need to lean on that as much? You didn't need to kind of be my identity is dictated by my success in MMA or the UFC. You already had that. Is that kind of
100%? As I was finding my feet and I started discovering myself a bit more and understanding who I was and going through everything else that life throws at you, like getting married and having kids and all that. I definitely, I took that apart and realized it's all kind of silly.
Yeah, well, dude, I was going to say that people were super excited about obviously you having this quick turnaround. And one of the reasons why we wanted to get you on the show was because we just wanted to get a little update from you. Obviously, you revealed on Instagram and on social media that ultimately you won't be able to fight UFC 275 against Marvin Vettori. And I know you must be, kind of bummed about having to delay that. You kind of explained you tried to make that happen, but let's just get into it initially. What was the injury that ultimately delayed this return?
Yeah, I don't want to get into it too much because I don't want to highlight my injury, but it was something that I took. So I I had a niggly injury leading into the camp, and I didn't have the fight sign of that, and so I was cool with it, just healing and everything. And then the fight got presented to me, and everything just lined up. Like I mentioned in the last interview, like it was Singapore, it was Vettori. I was excited to just get back in there and get back to work. And I jumped straight back into training. I got back in the gym that week, and I just felt pain. I wasn't performing the way I wanted it to, and I wasn't comfortable with the way I was able to move and everything and work on it. So, from that, I went away. I got assessed and everything like that, and then we were like, okay, what we can do is this is what's happened. This is the rehab program you need to do to work it back out, to get everything back in order, and then you can get back into full camp and do what you need to do. Got out, started doing rehab, started doing strengthening work, was grinding and hustling as best I could, but we reached a point where I think it was the week I pulled out, where, and I would like to say, not pulled out, let's just say pushed back, like I would love to, I still want to fight Vettori. I think he's a great fight, and I still want that fight to happen. I just need a little bit more time. But like I was saying, the week I pushed out, I pulled out, it was just one of those things, as I hadn't been able to train properly, and the injury still wasn't healed. It still wasn't healed. And, a big thing is I didn't get to where I am today half-assing things, not making the smarter decision. So if for me, pushing it back a couple months to make sure I'm at 100%, so Vettori gets my 100% best, then is what I need to do. It's what I need to do. And let me say, the MMA community sometimes can be bloody brutal.
What, the MMA community? No way. What do you mean?
How so in this situation?
Exactly. Like, they just hammer me. It's like, mate, like the thing is, and trust me, I was kept up at night, tossing and turning, knowing I had to make a decision. Like, it was killing me. It was, honestly, it's been a rough and stressful period, like trying to work out this the injury and still prepare for the fight and everything, and then live with the idea that, hey, the doctors don't think I'm going to be ready for this fight. And it was just stressful. It was stressful, and it was a pain. And then, but what stung with me is that, let's say I go into the fight half cooked and I lose. No one's going to care for my excuses. I can't come out afterwards and be like, yeah, but I had this injury. No one's going to give a crap. All they're going to care about is that I lost. And I don't want to live with myself knowing that I could have done better. So I'm going to do things the right way. I just need a little bit more time. Heal up, get back in there, do a full camp, and then take it to him.
Well, it sounds like you made the right decision, and it's not like you're a fighter who's, on the regional scene trying to debut in the UFC, and you're like, I have to take it. It's a chance of a lifetime. Like, you're established. You don't have to take fights just for the sake of it. I think that mentality went out of MMA quite a long time ago. Like, yeah, anytime, anywhere, we'll fight in a car park because we're just such badasses. But just on the MMA community, what do you think is kind of the most misunderstood thing that people?
What's funny is I think as you just said, in the MMA community, I think it's that mentality that is still lingering places, because I think where fighting originated from to where it is today is a big gap.
Yeah,
I feel like some people haven't caught up. It isn't about I'll fight anywhere, anytime, sort of thing anymore, because the dudes that do that aren't in the UFC, bro. They're in your local scene fighting at the pub.
Yeah,
like. They're at Rudy Hill RSL, if that's the type of fight you want, that's where you got to go to see it, because we're professionals at the highest level, and everything I try to do needs to be professional and at 100%. And this was just the decision that I had to make, and I guess the overreaching thing of the whole point is just that, like, it affected me more than anybody else. Like anybody else, like it kept me up at night. the fact that I'm not going to be able to fight in Singapore, which is just down the road, figuratively speaking. It was just so much closer. It was a 3-round fight with Vettori. Like, I want that fight still. I want that fight still. I want to be able to compete for everybody. It's just, you know, I had some injuries that I had to heal that just didn't heal in time. And yeah, you know, it is what it is. I need to go into the fight so that people get the best Rob Whittaker, because nobody wants a crap Rob Whittaker. You know, everybody loves me when I'm looking my best and I'm putting on my best show, my best performance. So they can just wait a couple more months.
And they should know that you really wanted to make it happen, because I think you avoided all the Easter chocolates on the long weekend. So that really shows the true dedication that you were giving to this camp, no matter what was happening. Quick question though, man. Have you ever had a fight in the UFC like early on where you actually were like, nah, I don't care, I'm going to fight on no matter what was going on with your body? Have you had that happen before? Like, where you just...
Yeah, and I've done that too many times. Too many times. My so in the Smash finale, the fight I had, I went into the fight with a broken hand. Ooh, into the fight. That's insane. You know, like I fought Romero for the interim title the first time with a torn LCL. Like, yeah, there's been plenty of times, and everyone's done it. All the fighters have done it, that you have to back up quickly. You have to back up quickly, or you've put in the work. But a big thing is, like, there's a big difference between like doing most of the camp and then getting injured somewhere in the camp and then making it work, to not having started the camp because you're injured and then reaching a point where you need to start the camp but you're still injured. You know, it's that's a very different dynamic. I didn't, because when you go through a camp and you get injured partway through, at least there's a lot of work in the bank. Your cardio's up, everything's, you've been working, right? Your weight's down, X, Y, Z. But like when you go from like a rehab block into camp, but you're still injured and you can't camp at 100%, then it's just terrible. Like the weight's a little higher, the cardio's not there. You haven't been able to train as you usually do, or get the work in that you need for the fight. You've had to adjust and work around it, and it's just it's a very different experience. It's a very different situation. Just
rolling into camp on a wheelchair. Hey guys, who's ready to go?
Let's go. 6 weeks out. I can't wait.
Can we start in the guard, please?
Like, hey Rob, how heavy are you? 105. Like, I can do this. I'm like, well, you might lose 3 kilos a week from here to the fight. No worries.
Calling Paulo Costa, get weight cutting advice.
Well, to be fair, if I was 105, I'm sure Vettori and me could work something out.
He's an easy negotiator in that realm.
I go Vettori. Let's be honest, mate. I'm going to make 96 at best. We can work it out.
Yeah, what a shit and stressful feeling. You go into camp, you're going to be fighting a killer, and you're already behind, and you're just kind of hoping, well, I hope this heals, by X amount of weeks, and then it's not, and then you're like, okay, this is not looking good. Then,
mate, and it's not like Vettori's a chump. If any, like, I would think it's like the ultimate show of respect is that I don't want to fight Vettori at anything less than 100. It's he's only lost to the same dudes I have. Same dude. It's it's just he's up the top of the food chain for a reason, and I need to respect that and take that serious.
Out of curiosity, what's the treatment like? I know it's only a couple of months delay, so like what sort of treatment? I'm guessing it's not surgery. Like, what do you have to do to fix this?
Yeah, there's no surgery. I just need a strengthening block to just really finish up. And the overarching thing is, like, because I did all the rehab that I could, the overarching thing that is needed is time. It's just one of those things, and I ran out of time. But I push the fight back. Hopefully Vettori hangs around and just, I don't know, enjoy some food or something like that. We can reschedule in a couple of months or something like that. Just because I like that fight and I want to fight him. I think he's owed that fight, but I got to do what you got to do, sort of thing.
Yeah, because I'm just having a look here, like at the rankings. Outside of Marvin, it's like there's not really that many great options at the moment, anyway, right? Like maybe if Strickland won at UFC 277, but that's still a pretty quick turnaround to make that timeline for you. We don't know what's really happening with Paulo Costa at the moment. He attempted to call out Marvin for a rematch. It was unfortunately turned down. Is that the message? Like, have you spoken to the UFC about the potential of keeping that Marvin fight? Have you heard anything from his camp yet about the possibility of doing that a couple months later?
I don't know. My biggest goal at the moment is just like getting back to full health and getting back to full training. And I'm doing everything in that regard. As for the talks with the UFC knows my predicament. Knows my injury. They know how long I need roughly, when I'm looking roughly to get back in. And I'm sure they've communicated with that with Marvin and whatever he wants to do. So it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of predicaments, if you're finding that your shower care routine is a little bit dated, step into 2000 and now with Manscaped's ultra premium collection of shower care products. Your body deserves nothing but the best. You kick it off with the ultra premium body wash from Manscaped in the metallic container, so you know it's the good stuff. Then you switch over to the 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. 2-in-1 saves you a lot of time, plus it smells fantastic. Also, water dehydrates you, so if you have a million showers, you may suffer from dry skin, which is why you need the hydrating body spray. You spray it on after your shower, keeps your skin nice and supple. Then you chuck on some Manscaped deodorant. This one smells absolutely fantastic, so you'll be turning heads everywhere you go for all the right reasons. And then you got the Manscaped lip balm. I always suffer from dry, cracked lips, with especially some of the meds that I'm taking for acne. Dries you out. You want to take care of your lips, and the lip balm pack comes with 3 in 1 little pack. So Manscaped, taking care of you. And don't forget the good old Lawnmower 4.0 to shave your beans and improve your love life. I don't know, 6,000% according to our scientists. It's a great deal, isn't that right, Dennis?
Yeah, man. And you guys can get 20% off and free shipping today with a code word submission. Jump on it now. Use the code word submission. There is just a plethora of stuff to get at manscaped.com. So jump on and get it today. But Cass, there's so many crazy sports happening right now. Of course, you got the NBA playoffs, and it's anything goes when it comes to NBA playoffs right now. If you guys are wondering, obviously I'm wearing the Celtics hoodie right now, and they are at a plus 330 to win the NBA championship at time of recording with MyBookie. You guys could go on and bet on all sorts of things at MyBookie right now. Of course, you got Vera versus Font coming up. Vera at a plus 105, Font minus 135. What about UFC 274 coming up right around the corner? We've got Gaethje and Oliveira. Gaethje plus 140, Oliveira minus 170. All sorts of great bets, and all of them to be placed at MyBookie with a code word submission. You guys can double that first deposit. Go to MyBookie today. Make some serious cash of the season of sports that is happening right now all over the world. And, bet anything, bet anytime, bet any kind of sport that you want at our friends with MyBookie, Cass.
That's right. And with so many fights and so many good things to watch, you can be obviously streaming those things on all sorts of different and dodgy Wi-Fis. Maybe you're at the airport, maybe you're at your friend's house, maybe you're using your dodgy neighbor's Wi-Fi. It leaves you vulnerable to attacks or all sorts of viruses. We had Tyson Fury versus Dillian White this past weekend. How are you watching it? You don't want to be clicking on the wrong thing and then your computer catches a virus. Make sure you stay protected with NordVPN. Your internet service provider cannot monitor any of your internet search activity or any activity for that matter, so you can check out all the spicy websites at your heart's content. Also, you can save money because if you change your geolocation, things like Netflix, if you're in Australia and you can watch American Netflix or British Netflix or Canadian Netflix, and thus opening up a whole bunch of other TV shows that otherwise would not be available to you. They're throwing in their threat protection for free as well, which keeps you protected. No speed throttling, no buffering, or anything that ruins your streaming or viewing experience. NordVPN, I have it running in the background at all times, and I don't even notice it's on, unlike other traditional VPNs that slow down your computer back to 56 dial-up K internet. NordVPN, simply the best. Isn't that right, Dennis?
Yeah, man. Sometimes you just need that local coverage for certain events. Like you were talking about the Fury White fight, and I love watching BT Sports and seeing what's happening and the lead up to that fight. For example, I was talking about the NBA before. I love watching the NBA on TNT and getting the local commentary there. And also, speaking of the NBA and subscription plans, the NBA League Pass, for example, you guys could buy that for a cheaper amount of money if you guys change your location. outside of Australia. These are the little things that come with having a great VPN like Nord. You guys can sign up today at nordvpn.com/submission or click the link in the description below. Get a huge discount plus threat protection plus 1 additional month for free, and it's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. And one of the things that I stress the most, Cass, to people when I talk about Nord is they have the best apps in the business. When it comes to your phone or your computer, it's just not comparable to anything else. It's just so easy and simple to use. Make sure to jump on and do it today. But Rob, while we wait to see what happens next in the timeline for the big return, I just want to get your thoughts on something we didn't really get a chance to talk to you about last time. What are your thoughts on this upcoming Jared Cannonier and Israel Adesanya fight that's coming up right around the corner? I feel like a lot of people sort of giving Israel the benefit of that fight, believing it's going to be, maybe another dominant performance for him. However, do you think they're sleeping a little bit on Jared here?
I think Jared's definitely got a chance. He's an absolute killer, and you can see in the fights that he's been in that he's the type of guy that'll go out on his shield. That's a dangerous guy, right? But if you have to look at it stylistically on paper, Adesanya is just fast and rangy, and he'll be able to keep him on the end of his jab. And like that's what I did to Jared. I stayed away, played on the outside, and fought like that. And you can see, and that's Adesanya's fight game. He stays on the outside and like backs up, lets you walk onto things and things like that. So it's hard to say. Like I would have to say, like Adesanya would definitely be the favorite just because of how much. I think like he's got a bit of a speed advantage and reach and range, but I think Jared can definitely like turn it into a dogfight and like make it rough and rugged and get in there and make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, in general, there's a lot of fun things happening in the division, and it seems like there's a ton of like fun contenders, on the horizon, which is one of the reasons why I want this, you versus Marvin fight to stick around. We'll let you go in a second, Rob, because I'm sure you got to drop the kids off at the school in a sec. But just quickly, what did you think when Aljamain Sterling sent you that letter, that form after his win? I love seeing you and Ty on UFC Fight Week. It's just like the banter, and then like Volko will drop in. It's just good times. And then you see the spicy clips, and you're like, here we go. What's going on here? But I like that you kept it real. To be fair, the things you said about Aljo, they weren't anything bad. You were just stating facts, which is very much a you thing to do. You just like, here's the facts, here they are in black and white. But I love the little back and forth. It wasn't a back and forth, but I like the interaction, though. You handled everything when Aljo sent you that form. What did you think when you first saw that?
Oh, let me tell you, I'm leading the Aljamain fucking bandwagon now. Like, I'm
the new
driving
president.
The carriage. No worries. Like, he surprised me. I didn't think he could perform like that after the first fight. And like I mentioned in the interview, like I understand all his reasoning and why he did things, and I'm sure it left a bad taste in his mouth as well. But yeah, I thought he did really well. Really, really well. I loved his work. And I've changed my opinion. That's the beautiful thing about life. You can do that, and he changed my opinion. And to be honest, like the way he handled that little exchange, it was like it's quite witty, and I like the way he did it, and I like it. Just made me like him more.
I feel like when you win the title again one day, Rob, you can send out some apology forms as well. I can just see you just sending it.
I don't print anything. If it's not an e-document, it's not getting signed. So.
Hey, just while we're on UFC 273, man, what did you think of Khamzat's win over Gilbert Burns?
Mate, that was a nuts fight.
Yeah, crazy fight. Yeah.
It was great. It was absolutely great. I think what played into Khamzat's biggest favor was the fact that throughout his career, he's taken little to no head damage. I think if Khamzat fought that fight in 5 years' time, after he's fought killers like Burns at the top of the food chain for a while, he doesn't make it through that fight because he took some massive shots, and Burns switches dudes off, but they fought now, and Khamzat just like he fought like the highest caliber. He fought like he'd been in the top 10 for a while, And that's where I think he'll stay for a long time.
As a fighter, how do you think a fight like that changes you mentally? Because we've seen so many people come in, they're so confident, they feel invincible, and then they either suffer a loss or they have a fight like this where they win. But obviously, it seemed like, I don't know if humbling is really the right word, but it seems like Khamzat learned a lot of things. And, we had Darren on speaking about how, like, you have to stick to the game plan. You can't just go in and try and kill everybody. Like, there are levels. You're fighting the number 2 guy, and sometimes you have to be more strategic. Did you ever have a moment like that in your career where, looking back in your career, I don't know that you did, but did you ever have a moment where, like, you had such a big, lesson or wake up call, like, say, Khamzat might have against Gilbert?
Yeah, I've had wake up calls throughout my entire career. Throughout the entire career, I've had wake up calls, and I've had fights and moments where.
sorry, I wasn't leading to that.
I've had fights and moments where I've had to reflect on how I did things and change things, or how I approached the fight, or what I did in the fight and what needs to change, and throughout my entire career, and it's still going on.
Just one more thing, and then we'll let you go, Rob. Because Khamzat is kind of like between welterweight and middleweight, do you think that he returns to middleweight? And what would you say is kind of the trickiest thing about juggling, it's a pretty big disparity between the weight classes?
Yeah. If it's hard to say. I think what will happen is, like, he'll run through welterweight and either be successful or not, and if he's not, he'll move up to give a run at middleweight as well. But the difference in fighting is it's quite apparent. Like, just bigger guys, you can't get away with certain things. You can't take those shots Burns delivered on him as a middleweight. Like, they're just bigger guys. They hit harder. In saying that, though, he's terribly skilled. So, yeah, he can probably do what he wants.
Dude, all right. So as we wrap, I know the kids are ready to go to school because I hear them running around and yelling in the background. So let me just ask you, man, the ideal timeline for your return. I know you mentioned a couple of months from now. So is that the plan, sort of, if things go to plan with a recovery around sort of the August time period? Is that sort of what we're aiming for right here? And ideally, this Marvin Vettori fight still intact for that time period?
We're just looking to push the fight back for just till later in the year. Everything kind of depends on, like, the healing process and how long this takes and whatnot. So I'm just focusing on this at the moment. But I still want to get 3 fights in this year, so I need to get another 2 at the end of the year. So yeah, got to work out my dates and timelines.
Yeah, we're hearing rumors of a potential, maybe even an Australian show next year. So imagine if things line up at the start of the year. So imagine if things line up. Well, that would be amazing. But guys, make sure to follow Rob on social media at Robert Whittaker MMA. And by the way, you guys could go to his website, robertwhitaker.co, and get your classic Reaper gear over there. So many classics
100%.
over there. It's I really believe Reaper gear is becoming, one of those. I see a lot of people wearing it, and it's really cool design. You guys are always asking where you can get it. Go to robertwhitaker.co and do that. Of course, the man is hopefully back in a couple of months, and we can't wait to see it. Rob, thank you so much for joining us, mate.
Thanks for having me, as always, boys.